There are certain business principles that you need to know as a franchisee that wants to be a successful multi-unit enterprise owner. These business principles are the ones that are going to give you a clarity as you're going through the journey of growing and scaling your franchise business successfully. The better that you are able to understand these business principles and the better that you are able to apply them, the more successful you're going to be able to be in this journey. In this show, I'm going to share with you 6 of those business principles that I hope will help you be able to make better decisions for your business going forward. The first business principle is that to achieve financial freedom, you need to have at least a minimum of 2 units. Now, obviously, that would depend on what is the cost of living for you and your family. But if you are, let's say, a corporate employee leaving that job and going into the journey of being a franchisee, usually it's going to take at least 2 units for you to be able to replace your income. Now, the reason I say that is because usually it is said that 1 unit is a job. However, 1 franchise unit on average gives you a take-home revenue of about $40,000 a year. And you are a corporate executive going into franchising, your probably average salary is $80,000 or more. If 1 average franchise unit gives you about a take-home of $40,000, that means that you need at least 2 of them to be able to replace the income you have right now. Now, obviously, how much that is going to depend on the brand that you have and what is your cost of living and the salary that you're having. But on average, that is something that you need to know to be able to understand financially what it means to be a franchisee and how much money can you actually get from a franchise. Now, the second thing that you need to know is for you to be able to achieve time freedom, which is the other goal of becoming an entrepreneur and a business owner, you really need to be able to grow into what we call a district manager area so that you can hire a district manager and have them oversee your business so that you can delegate operations and then achieve that time freedom that you want. For you to be able to do that is you have to have enough units that provide enough cash flow to then hire that district manager that will then oversee the operations on your behalf. The third business principle that you need to know is that the average franchise unit makes about $600,000 in revenue. That's the average. That means that there are some franchise units that go below that, and there are some franchise units that go above that. I will tell you that most of my clients are looking for a business that will give them at least $800,000 to $1 million in revenue because they know that if they do that, they're able to then have enough net profit, take-home profit, cash flow to achieve the business goals. So you need to know that the average franchise unit is not making $1, $2, $3 million, but the average franchise unit and in the average industry is about $600,000. So it's one of the things that you need to really be able to understand and be clear when you're making the selection of your franchise. And if you already have selected your franchise, understand what is the unit economics of that franchise so that you are able to then determine how many units will it take to have financial freedom and how many units will take to have time freedom. The next business principle of franchising or financial insights for you as an aspiring multi-unit franchisee is that you need to define what are your financial non-negotiables. And what I mean by that is what is the minimum revenue that you want to be able to have in a unit for you to make that unit worth it for you. It could be that within your brand, some units may be at 600,000, others might be at $1 million. Now, what makes a unit, a $600,000 unit versus $1 million unit is not only the brand that you have, but a lot to do with the location and the demographics and the consumers that are around you that you're going to serve with that unit. If you have a specific minimum revenue objective, then you need to make sure that whatever units you open are going to be able to meet that minimum objective. The other type of financial non-negotiables that you may have to define is what is the minimum number of stores that you want to get to? Understanding now what it takes to have financial freedom and time freedom, that's the minimum that you should be able to then define. And that should be a non-negotiable for you. You might want to get to that number as quickly as possible. Now, once you get there, you can decide if you want to go further and make sure that the brand that you're in will allow you to make that happen. Something else that is a non-negotiable is as you're planning to open new units, what is the minimum cash-on-cash returns that you want from any new unit that you're going to open? I know I have a client that for him, his non-negotiable is 20% cash-on-cash returns. I know that he does his financial analysis, and based on that, he defines if this unit will provide the minimum 20% of cash on cash returns. And if it doesn't, he automatically says it's a no-go. The sixth financial insight that I want to share with you, or should I say business principle, is rent. The average rent of a brick and mortar business for a franchise should be around 8 to 12%. This is important to know because if your rent is less than 8% of your average revenue, that means that you have a pretty good unit economics model for this particular unit, which means it's very favorable and you are going to be able to achieve your financial goals for that unit a lot faster. Now, if your rent is above 12%, you really need to analyze how much are you willing to go beyond that 12%, because every 10th of a percent that you go over that number, it is just making it much more difficult for you to get to that break-even point and then start making the money in that unit. The only exception will be for locations that are in mall situations. In the mall situations, rent is usually higher than that 12%. But again, there are other costs that are less, which compensates for that. So in general terms, any brick and mortar franchises or small businesses should have a rent of 8 to 12%. And if they're above that, you really need to reconsider whether this is a location and a unit for you. And that takes us to the last business principle that I want to share with you today. For most brick and mortar franchise businesses, the labor cost and the cost of goods is over 50% of their expenses. This means that how you manage your cost of goods and your labor costs can make and break your business. This is a financial insight that as a franchisee and small business owner, you need to know. You must become an expert at managing your labor costs and managing your cost of goods, because that is where most franchisees fail, regardless of whatever great brand you may acquire. So for you to be able to do that, you need to truly understand what is the business model for the franchise brand that you acquired when it comes to the cost of goods and the labor model that they are operating under to be able to deliver to the consumer the quality product and the quality service that they are looking for. You need to understand what are the objectives, you need to understand what affects them, and define processes and procedures in your organization that your team can follow to be able to minimize any waste in those two areas so that you can achieve your financial goals for each and every one of your units. So if you're a retail, brick and mortar business, especially in food service, cost of goods and labor management is going to be critical for your financial success. A lot of this information that I share with you should be available in your franchise disclosure document, item 19. That's assuming that your franchisor provides that information. Either way, this is information and knowledge that you absolutely must have to be able to have financial success in your franchise. Now, you can also get information from this, from friends, from mentors, from other resources. And here at the American Franchise Academy, we're one of those resources. So if you'd like to grow a multi-unit franchise enterprise and be in command of your franchise, please come visit us at www.americanfranchiseacademy.com and learn how we can help you in that journey. Thank you for being in the show, and we'll see you in the next one.